Gary Anthony Ramsay with your Hour News Now Rewind. Stories making headlines for the week ending October 2nd, 2010. Our top stories include: the President's Chief of Staff leaves the White House to run for office in Chicago. An Oklahoma senator blocks settlement money that would pay thousands of black farmers. One of the mega church sex scandal accusers calls Bishop Eddie Long a monster. Blacks are almost twice as likely to die in motorcycle accidents than whites. Lebron James won't back down from comments he made about the role of race in the reaction to his decision. And the country's first clinically trained black physician finally gets a long overdue mark. Our top story: Barack Obama's chief of staff resigns to make a run to become mayor of one of America's largest cities. Rahm Emanuel is leaving the drama of the White House for the theater of Chicago politics. As chief of staff, Emanuel helped the administration pass the stimulus package and health care reform. But his brash and often combative style made enemies on Capitol Hill. Emanuel, who served as congressman for the city of Chicago, will likely be replaced temporarily by White House advisor Peter Rouse. The midterm departure comes as Democrats are bracing for what could be huge losses in the November elections. Many are now speculating about what this could mean for the second half of the Obama presidency. After 15 years of waiting and months of demonstrations, thousands of black farmers are put on hold yet again by Congress. Oklahoma Senator Tom Coburn blocked passage of a bill that would pay an overdue settlement of $1.25 billion. Democrats and Republicans had both publicly expressed hope that the bill would pass, but Coburn said that he was unhappy with how the money would be paid. GOP lawmakers in the House have claimed that some of those making claims are not farmers at all, and that the process is racked with fraud. No word on when or if the measure will come up again for a vote. Well, last week, using the story of David and Goliath, a pastor for one of the nation's largest churches vowed to fight charges of sex abuse made by former members. But just days later, one of the young men who was suing said that he is the victim and described Eddie Long as a monster. Jamal Parrish spoke to a reporter from Atlanta's WAGA after tracking him down in Colorado. The young man said his actions are not about money and that he filed the suit to keep what allegedly happened to him from happening to someone else.
And I cannot forget the smell of his cologne. And I cannot forget the way that he made me cry many nights when I drove in his cars on the way home, not able to take enough showers to wipe the smell of him off of my body. But that man cannot look me in my eye and tell me we did not live this pain, while you can sit in front of the church and tell them that you categorically deny it. You can't say that to our face, and you know this. You are not a man, you are a monster.
In the lawsuits, Long is accused of taking the young men, then ages 16, 17, and 18, on so-called retreats. That's where the alleged sex acts took place. Through his lawyer, Long continues to deny the allegations. In Pittsburgh, a lawsuit is filed by the family of a man who claimed that he died after their 10 calls to 911 were not responded to for 30 hours. At one point, the family claims that paramedics were asking 50-year-old Curtis Mitchell to walk through snow to get to them before he died. The complaint lists 18 counts, including willful misconduct and gross negligence. It all happened in February during a crippling snowstorm. An ambulance crew did come to the end of the street where Mitchell lived, but left after the 50-year-old said he couldn't make it. The conversations between the paramedics and the dispatcher were recorded.
What y'all just at that guy's house?
Yeah, but he ain't coming down. I ain't waiting all day for him, Kim. What the this ain't no cab service.
One paramedic was fired and 3 others suspended after Mitchell's death. Well, the fate of a Jamaican reggae star is still up in the air after his drug trafficking trial in Miami ends with a hung jury. Now Buju Banton waits to see if a judge will grant him bail until his next trial begins. Banton was accused of arranging for cocaine shipments from Venezuela to St. Martin, but the federal government star witness, who was a paid informant, was apparently not strong enough to convince all the jurors, who said they were split right down the middle. Banton's bail hearing is now set for October 6th. He still faces life in prison if he's convicted. Well, if you like to ride motorcycles or know someone who does, the results of a new study may get your undivided attention. The research conducted by Johns Hopkins University concludes that if you're black, ride a motorcycle, and get into an accident, you're more than 1.5 times more likely to die from your injuries. The study suggests factors like previous health condition, insurance, and even the kind of motorcycle play a role. But the author of the study says that wearing a helmet is apparently not a factor for reducing risk.
Even though the black or African American patients are wearing helmets more commonly, they still had worse outcomes.
Motorcycle accidents kill more than 4,800 people a year in the United States and injure more than 88,000. In your Our News Now World Wrap, Nigerian authorities say they're trying to track down some 4,000 Nigerian women who now live in Mali. Authorities believe many of the women have been forced into prostitution after being lured there with the promise of jobs. While being one of the poorest countries on the continent, Mali is still a center for mining, which attracts men from all over Africa. Many returning victims say they were originally told they were heading to Europe to work as domestics. But when they arrived in Mali, they were forced to work in one of the many brothels they are told to work off their debt. Prostitution is legal in Mali, but kidnapping is not. Authorities also say they believe the ring is set up and run by older Nigerian women who gain the confidence of the younger girls. In Ecuador, army soldiers square off with police officers who were holding the president hostage. But it's still unclear if the event was an attempted coup or a protest that lost control. President Rafael Carrera was rescued after the 12-hour standoff. It started after Carrera vetoed legislation that would have given the police officers better benefits and salaries. 2 police officers and at least 1 civilian was injured. Carrera blamed former president and opposition leader Lucio Gutierrez for inciting the police to mutiny. In Sierra Leone, there is optimism for economic growth in the future now that the United Nations has lifted sanctions. It's another step for the country that's more infamously known for the blood diamonds that financed the civil war there. With deposits of some of the highest quality diamonds in the world, Sierra Leone's economy could see as much as a 5% growth over the next year, according to analysts. The 11-year war in Sierra Leone left 50,000 people dead and hundreds of thousands maimed or injured. That's your World Wrap. In sports news, Lebron James says he meant what he said in a CNN interview when he claimed that race may have played a factor in the reaction to his decision to leave Cleveland. He said, quote, "I think so. At times, there's always, you know, a race factor," end quote. The Miami Heat forward reiterated his views at practice the next day.
I'm not going to go back on my words and answer the question. I think people are looking too far into it, but at the same time, you know, sometimes it does play a part in it, but, you know, I've said what I had to say, and I'll continue to move on.
The Heat are now expected to be contenders for the NBA championship after the blockbuster deal that brought James to Miami. And finally, he was the nation's first clinically trained African-American doctor. During his life, he was hailed for his work and his advocacy. But for more than 145 years, Dr. James McCoon Smith laid in an unmarked grave. And that came to an end last week in Brooklyn, New York, as descendants of Dr. Smith held a ceremony at his gravesite to dedicate a memorial headstone. Dr. Smith could not attend medical school in America, so he went to Scotland to train in the 1830s. He settled in New York and was the chief physician at an orphanage. During his life, Dr. Smith was also an author, teacher, and anti-slave advocate. He was born to a slave mother and a white father. Many scholars suggest his children passed for whites and disowned his accomplishments, which explain the unmarked grave. The ceremony was attended by Smith's predominantly white descendants, including his great-great-great-granddaughter. For a complete look at any of the stories you've seen on The Rewind, remember, as always, go to the bottom of the webpage, find the link of the story you'd like to see, and click your way through. That's your Our News Now Rewind for this week. I'm Gary Anthony Ramsay.